Thursday, April 25th is the next new resident social. So those events are designed just to give new residents an opportunity to make connections with new people. You do not have to be new to attend, but we call them the new resident social to communicate the agenda, which you've heard me say it before. We're going to be nice to the new people. There will be snacks. It's free to attend. And from 5 to 7 at the Ely Folk School, Thursday, April 25th. Tell your friends. Tell the new people. See you there. Speaking of new people, Randy Greiner is the new coordinator for the Meet New Elyites program here at Tuesday Group. Round of applause for Randy. Little word to the folks who are speaking, if you would try to like stay inside of the square that the projector makes behind the podium, that would be very helpful.
Okay, thank you. So after a 2-year apprenticeship under Elton Brown, which wasn't easy at times, he's turned it over to me and he's done a great job. So I had 6 people scheduled for today, 2 officially bailed, and I'm missing 1 here right now. So, but anyway, we'll get started. So first up is a young woman that I met last year at the Ely Art Walk. We set up her art in the Pebble Spa. And her work is fabulous. I've been impressed with it. Plus she plays a musical instrument too, which I'm not sure what it is, but oh, ukulele? Okay. I just knew you played. I didn't know what it was. So Grace, come on up. And I'm going to pass around some of her artwork. Make sure your hands are clean.
Yeah, or if you've got dirty hands from food grease, just like wave it past. Oh, sorry. If you have grease or anything on your hands, just wave past, because that will stay on the art, and that's tough for long term anyways. So I'm Grace Klein. It's really great to be here. Thank you all for having me. Thanks, Randy, for the invitation. So I'm a new Elyite as of September 2022, full-time. However, I was originally brought to Ely from YMCA Campton Nord. I worked there as a summer staff member for 3 years prior. So that started in 2019. Then I worked in 2020 and 2021. And I did some art coordinator stuff there. But I've actually been visiting Ely and the surrounding Body Waters area for basically my whole life. I feel like there hasn't been a time when I don't remember coming here. So it's pretty amazing to be here full time now. I love it. There's so many fun things to do. So I will start with what I did in college, just because it is what drew me here, I suppose, full time. I have a degree in fashion and textile design from UW-Madison. And so that led me to want to work here at Wintergreen Northern Wear. I am a sewer and designer. I help with all the pattern design and new releases and things like that. So that's kind of my full-time job. But then on the side, I also, as Randy was saying, am an artist. When I was in college, part of the textile work that I did was in paper making, which sounds a little like, how do textiles and paper relate? They're all basically fiber-based, so I do consider myself a fiber artist, if that makes sense. I work with mostly plant-based materials, so the paper that you're seeing is all made from plants. The base material is cotton. This fiber called abaca, which is kind of like a banana leaf, and then linen. And so all that gets pulped down, and then I color it with pigments, and then that's what creates this paper. From there, I've made books from it, but I've also primarily been weaving it. And so that's what my show that was most recently seen in the movie theater lobby is called, Weaving Color into Comfort. That was essentially a 2-year process for me to get to that point. And it's my first ever solo art show. So that was really incredible. And I hope some of you were able to see it, but if not, I have some photos on my Instagram, and you can check out my work there. so that was really cool. I don't know, how long am I supposed to talk?
You're okay.
I'm good. I've got plenty of time. Okay, so maybe I'll talk more about my work with paper because it's kind of like my most interesting side project that I'm trying to figure out here. So when I moved to Ely, I was leaving behind a college-worthy studio that was like state-of-the-art paper making. That is pretty difficult to replicate because it requires a lot of high level equipment and things like that. But fortunately, I was able to get in touch with some woodworking friends and we built some alternative methods for like a backyard studio. So when the weather warms up again, I'll be making more paper, but all last summer, whenever I had free time and the energy, I spent quite a bit of time figuring out how to pulp my own paper. The most important thing is to figure out how you can take the fiber and beat it so that it can change its integral structure of that fiber. So then when it's pressed by this heavy duty press, in college, I used one that was like 2 tons worth of weight. Basically, it squeezes all of the water out of the paper. It's really incredible and loud to see. It's extremely loud. But we figured out how to make a much smaller scale version at home that is essentially doing the same thing. So that was really exciting to kind of get for my art studio practice to get to that point where I can start making paper at home again. If anybody is interested in paper making or like wants to try it out, I'd love to talk to you more separately about it because there are easier ways to do it at home. But the method that I'm trying to replicate is definitely more of a like how do I let's see. It's more sturdy paper. So there's easy ways to make softer, less strong paper. But what I'm going for is like really durable. And mostly that's because I weave with it. So looking forward to other things I'm involved with here. So done with the paper talk, moving to a different section of my life. As Randy was saying, I also am a musician. I play with the band called the Chickadee-Dee-Dees. Has anyone heard of? Yeah. Thank you. So we have been playing since Christmas of 2022. We started by playing at the holiday concert, and from then on, we've just loved playing with each other. So now we've been very fortunate to be supported by the community, and we've gotten just, I don't know, more practice. And so we've been getting more concerts and things. So our next show, we're actually playing for Friends of the Boundary Waters fundraiser on May 4th. That's sometime in the evening. I'm sure if you Google or do some digging, you can find more specifics on time with that. But that's the other thing that I do in kind of my side time is play with the chickadees, which is really fun. I've been singing and playing music my whole life, and it's just something that I love doing. So it's great to have a band who feels similarly, and we can play music all the time together. So beyond that, I think that's what I have to say about myself. Oh, yes, Elton? Oh yeah, I also ski and I love biking. Biking is near and dear to my heart, and I'm excited for the snow to melt so that I can get on the Hidden Valley trails. And in the winter, I ski and train for the Berkey, so that's also a great thing about living in Ely is there's so many trails and there's so many fun things to do outside. And that's me. So thanks, everyone. Oh, true. I was just in a show as well. I was Hava in Fiddler on the Roof, if you remember, or if you saw that show. So thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
So the next new Elyites are neighbors of mine down on Bear Island River Road, and wonderful couple. And we've just become friends over the years. They were part-time and then now full-time. And they're both very busy. I'm very happy they could both make it here today because they travel extensively. Tim is a photographer, and this is a book he gave me a couple Christmases ago, and I'll pass it around of his photography. And it's just amazing. So Tim and Joanna.
If you have greasy hands, don't worry about it. It's Randy. That's Randy's copy. Thank you so much, Randy, and thank you all for having us here today. As Randy said, I'm a photographer, a landscape photographer, and a wildlife photographer, and super stoked to be here in Ely. I was born and raised in New York and went to school there, worked in New York City for about 10 years, then moved to Chicago for another decade, lived in the Twin Cities for 4 years, and I also lived in Detroit, where I met my incredible wife, Johanna, who's repping Zups, by the way, with this amazing shirt. But she'll take it away from here.
Hi, everybody. I'm Johanna. Nice to meet you. Randy, thank you so much for having us. Oh, yes. Hi, I'm Johanna. This is Tim. We're so happy to be here. Tim is from Long Island, like he was saying. I'm originally from Detroit, and that's where we met in advertising. We met on Camaro's 50th anniversary project, where Tim is the creative director and I'm the producer. He's also a designer, and I do more so of the video aspect of production. And more recently, if you've seen any Jersey Mike's commercials with Danny DeVito, I've worked on all those. Yeah. He's phenomenal, great human being, 79, and just hilarious to work with. And Jersey Mike's subs are also very delicious.
Delicious.
Yes. So outside of work, I'm also a writer. I'm also a tarot reader and astrology practitioner. So if anybody's into some modern mysticism, I'm your gal. I always say that I'm not in the business of predicting the future. I don't do that, but I use tarot as sort of a therapeutic tool to connect with people.
My
And-
wife is a witch. And also, if you know anybody that's down with astrology, like I have come to know, you'll discover that you step on a lot of rocks in your house. There are crystals everywhere under my pillow, and I'm sleeping and wake up with an imprint on my face. So,
and it's April and spring's finally here, and we're excited for summer solstice to come. We first moved to Minnesota in 2018, started coming up to Ely in 2020 during the pandemic, and that's when we fell in love with this place, and found our little spot on a Bear Island Lake. And right after we found this beautiful cabin, we ended up moving to Chicago for 2 years. And immediately recognized, what are we doing? We got to come back to Ely. So we were renovating our cabin for the past few years to be full-time living, and just recently moved up here full-time in December.
good time for a move.
Yeah. Because we got strong enough internet. We both work remotely. So once we got that Starlink internet, we were able to move up here full-time. And what we really love being up here about, and also what we love about being in nature, it really was inspired by a trip in 2018 to Iceland. We went there, fell in love with Iceland, actually went back and eloped in 2021 to Iceland. And it's a place where, just like Ely, the nature and the animals and the weather are its character in its own self.
Mhm.
So we, coming up to Ely, there's beautiful lupine flowers. Iceland has lupine flowers. There's the northern lights, just like Iceland, long summer days and beautiful, beautiful winters, usually. Coming to Minnesota, we finally fell in love with winter in a lot of beautiful ways. And that's where Tim fell in love with his photography in Iceland.
Yep.
What else? We love to hike and snowshoe. I'm excited to learn more about the trails in this whole area. We love to kayak and bike. And yeah, love all of the outdoor activities up here and all the animals up here too. That's been, I'm used to northern Michigan coming from Detroit, but northern Minnesota is way more wild, way more wolves running down the street. And yeah, we're just really, really excited to be up here and grateful too, because it's just such a beautiful place. Especially since we work so much in advertising, sitting in front of a computer all day. It's just we're so lucky to be able to just pop outside and be in this beautiful environment. So
Yeah, I think as I mentioned very quickly, I've sort of spent most of my adult life living in cities in New York City and Chicago and the Twin Cities and Detroit. And coming up here, Johanna and I were out one day. Gosh, when was that? It was probably in the fall. We took this rickety old canoe that we've got out onto Bear Island Lake where we live and paddled out so I could shoot this little island at sunset. And we had a really beautiful experience there. And as we were paddling home, I told her, this is the first time in my life that I feel like I'm home. I feel like I'm where I should be. And my parents, on the other hand, are still scratching their head saying, what the hell happened to you? You're a city kid. But we are just thrilled to be here and super grateful to meet you all. So thank you so much.
got a question.
Get your last name.
Oh yeah.
My last name is Mattimore, Tim Mattimore, and my wife's name is Scarlett.
Johanna Scarlett. Yeah. Yeah, nice to meet you all.
That's a great name, and that's why she kept it. So, so thank you all.
Well, as I said, we had several people bail today or not show up. Is Dawson here? No. Or Sam and Mary Johansson? All right, so we will. So sometimes I get lucky and Rob brought 2 new Elyites with him today, which is wonderful. And I just met them today. I don't know anything about them, but it's Ryan Olson and Joanne Pullman.
Didn't expect to be doing a speech or anything, so I don't have anything prepared, but I'm from England originally. And Ryan is actually from
Farmington.
Farmington. I lived in South Dakota for 18 years. Yeah. 18 years in South Dakota. I just moved here 2 weeks ago, and it was all because Ryan told me to come and see this beautiful place. And last June, I discovered that I really I'm quite good at art. So that's something that I know this community is very art oriented. And I fell in love with it immediately as soon as we came here, because we want to build a beautiful place. We want to do a lot of outdoor activities, canoeing, kayaking, everything, hiking. And where we were in South Dakota, we're kind of in the middle of cornfields. And the lake nearby, when I first moved there 4 years ago, when I met Ryan, it was beautiful. And the lake, we used to go swimming in the lake. And over the last 2-3 years, the runoff from the crops has made it so that it's just overgrown with weeds and it smells. So, we can't go in there anymore and enjoy that. So we're here instead. I'm a web developer, and I work for Avera Health back in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. So I work remotely as a digital specialist. I've also done a lot of web design, product development, logos, everything you can think of. And I play the Indian flute just a little bit. Ryan just started playing the ukulele, and he's already really good, but he's actually a heavy metal drummer. And when I say heavy, it is very heavy. He got shy, so I don't know if he wants to talk right now or not, but I don't know if you saw on Facebook, because I can't remember Randy, where Randy is now. The hippie thing, I posted that on the WhatsApp Ely. We're not hippies, but it was a good way to test. We're kind of, I said, is there any hippie welcoming bars in, because we went,
Know how to answer
well, it's a good way to get a, yes, okay. But the reaction I got to that, at first I was a little sad, and then when I started just talking back with people and being, sarcastic and just having fun, everyone's really laid back. And like I said, we're not hippies, but we do we're all about peace and love and all that, and music and yeah, environmental stuff. So shy.
You were joking when you said he was the extrovert.
Yeah,
He is usually.
no, I've been coming up here. I'm from Farmington, Minnesota, and I've been coming up here since I was a young kid. So,
Years.
sorry, I get emotional.
This has been something he's wanted for all his life. And I told him, he said he never thought he'd get out of our farm. He was stuck there for 11 years. And as soon as I met him, I said, I'll get you out, and I'll get you where you want to go. So we've been to England to see my family, and now we're here. So this is his dream, really.
We're so glad you're here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If you have any questions,
Have you met Austin and Becca, the owners of Hammerheart Brewery and the Metalheads in town yet?
No, we,
We'll get you hooked up.
You live in town or out? in the
we live
woods?
right back on Chagwa.
Oh, okay.
yeah, we're 5 minutes. We just went around the corner yesterday and went to the lake, and just couldn't believe that's right there. When you take videos, it doesn't do it justice. So it's gorgeous. Anyone else?
What do you do?
I do construction. So I've done that all my life. My dad has a construction company down in the cities. And that's probably what I'll be doing this summer. And then after that, I'm done with doing construction. Because the winters are too long and it's hard to find, interior work and whatever. But you work in the summer, you gotta save a bunch of money for the winter time. Or you're working at a gas station or something, so.
But he's all right now because my job is
Yeah.
pretty good paying, so. I said he can be a house husband or whatever.
So right now I do the dishes and the laundry and.
He's really good. Oh, and I did a lot of animal rescue in South Dakota, so I got burnt out a little bit from it because there's a lot of stuff I saw. But I'd still be interested if anyone needed help with animals and transportation outreach. Contented critters, yeah. And we've got 4 cats, 2 dogs. Is that it?
Oh my God.
We had a ferret that passed away.
Rest in peace.
But yeah, we're also looking for people who will enjoy kayaking and hiking and stuff, so.
You're in the right place.
Whoever, if you come to us, we can give you our information so we can get to know you and maybe kayak and fish, or if you're into fishing and whatnot. So that's pretty much it.
Awesome.
Good, thank you.
How lovely. And round of applause for Randy for putting this together. So as Randy mentioned, he had a plan that included a few more people who weren't able to show up today. So our program is formally ended, but I know that we had so much fun that one time the Snyders came up and gave us a little bit of perspective impromptu. So I want to open the mic up to anyone who might want to tell a story or share an experience of what it felt like to be new or really anything. It's just kind of open mic time right now. If anyone is interested in that, I'll let it brew for a second while I tell you something else. First of all, we do have a new resident hike that we offer. We have a volunteer, Annette Schmidt-Klein, who has been offering those to be the leader. So on the third Thursday of the month at 1:30 p.m., people can meet at the Bass Lake trailhead parking lot, and the group will just kind of, whoever shows up will go together. The default hike is a 1 mile, little less than 1 mile in, 1 mile out. Yep,
I'm just telling you what that's right.
cool.
Talk over you.
So every month at 1:30 on the third Thursday, and if there's more interest in that kind of thing, Boundary Waters Connect is happy to help facilitate. So what worked about the hike was that Annette said, I think this is a good idea and I'm available to be the captain of it. So that's just something for people to be aware of. And does anyone want to get up on the mic? It's okay if you don't. Oh, Nan wants to come back. I mean, no pressure, but we loved it when you were here last time.
Are you gonna dance on the table?
The one and the only Nan Snyder.
There are a couple of things I want to talk about. When we first came back, Jerry and I came back in September and October, and the house wasn't ready. We didn't have a place to stay. So we stayed here for about a week, and then Wendy Nelson, who is opening a B&B but hadn't opened it, let us stay there. So we stayed there about 3 weeks, and I got COVID and really felt bad. I mean, I went on Paxlovid and the whole thing. So we left and went to our daughters early, but that's not the point. We came back and we were here, and Jerry got up one morning and practically fell down. He was so dizzy. So we went to the hospital. They took him right in. They wired him up. They got IVs in him. They did a cardiogram. They did an MRI. I mean, and my friend in Connecticut took her husband to their hospital. They waited 11 hours on a gurney to be seen in the emergency room. So that's my first story. So the second story is I had a video conference call or video Zoom thing. Well, I'm just totally inept when it comes to this mechanical stuff. So I took it in. I was having an interview with Lisa Porthen, who runs this wonderful program called Northwood Partners, and they do a lot of volunteering. They drive people places, they go and talk to people. It's a wonderful program. So I had an interview with her, and I told her I had this video conference call. So she said, oh, I'll help you, because I didn't know how to do it. So she didn't know how to do it. So we asked the one of Candy, who works in the office. She didn't know how to do it. There was a nurse walking down the hall. She didn't know how to do it. And I had my iPad, that's why. So the hospital, Lisa gave me her computer. The hospital gave me a room to sit in so I could have this video conference call. Now, where else would you ever find that? I mean, if I'd been in any other, my friend who waited 11 hours on a gurney. So, I mean, I just think it's phenomenal that this town offered that to us. It was amazing. That's my story for all of you who are younger. You might not have these issues, but when you get older, you may. And it's been a great place. Thank you.
I like this trend that Nan has set. Does anyone else have a message of gratitude or appreciation for an Ely-related topic? Megan Wind, would you please come to the podium and share with us your message of gratitude, or whatever you want to say? Soapbox hour at Tuesday Group. Hello.
I figured since it's been 1 year since my new Ely-ite presentation, I should give you all an update. Not that anyone really cares, but it's kind of fun. So if you don't know me, my name is Megan Wind. I work with Lacey. I'm now on the board of the Northern Lakes Arts Association. So that's one fun update. I've choreographed 2 of the spring musicals since then. I am now teaching 3 different dance classes at Reflections Dance Company. Tap dance. So if you saw my Tap Tuesday group last year, I'm now teaching a class. I'm also teaching swing dance, which is open to the public. You can come anytime. It's 6:30 to 7:30 on Monday nights. Beginner to intermediate, like if you have experience, if you don't, it's great. It's a good time to move your body. And then I'm also teaching hip hop. So if you're feeling a little funky, that is at 7:30 on Tuesday nights. So yeah, I just wanted to like get up and just say thank you to the community because like I guess from experience, like living in the cities, kind of living in either Minneapolis or I lived in Salt Lake for a while, it's really hard to meet new people when you're in such a big space. Like you think it'd be easier because you have so many people around you, but it's actually a lot harder. And I just saw recently on if anyone's familiar with Reddit, it's kind of like a forum. There's like an r/Minnesota, which is just like a forum for people in Minnesota. But there's a big thread about how young people just like are having such a hard time, like making friends and connecting with each other. And that's like the one beautiful thing about living in Ely is it's been really easy to make friends and really easy to connect with the community. Like we have tools like Facebook groups. We have like community events like this. You can volunteer for a number of organizations. It's quite amazing to like live in this place and just be able to like get to meet people every day. And so if you're new, I highly encourage you to just like attend a meeting, volunteer for something, because that's the best way to meet new people. And like, it's so easy to get sucked into this beautiful place. And so yeah, I'm very thankful for everybody here. And thanks for, having my lovely first year in Ely. Yeah.
Doesn't that just melt your heart? We should do that all the time. We should have people come back for their 1 year Meet New Ely presentation anniversaries. I love this new trend. We're also cooking up other versions of Meet New Elyites. We're specifically reaching out to born and raised people who returned, trying to see if we can create an addition of just those folks, like people who left and came back. And I am toying with the idea of a meet old Elyites program. Trying to figure out if that language is going to be cheeky enough to work or if people won't like it. But I think there's so much value in meeting people who got here 2 weeks ago and people who've been here for a couple months. But I also am curious if this model could be expanded to people who've been here for 30 years or 40 years or 80 years. So stay tuned for stuff like that. Does anyone else want to get on the mic? Okay, well then I do have one more thing to say. And I am sorry, but I do think everyone here should listen to the new Beyonce album. I personally, and this is something I do feel strongly about, as a reader who likes reading comprehension, I like storytelling, I like exploring the meaning behind the media and the art that I'm consuming. I did go on the internet, find the lyrics to every single song, compile it into a Word document, and print several copies for myself. And I have been reading the lyrics as I listen to the music and exploring in my own context what I think she means. And I'm not going to tell you what I think she means, but I do think her message is relevant to all of us. And especially those of us who are interested in the Braver Angels initiative. So if you're not familiar with Braver Angels, it's a national organization that helps smaller communities build chapters, or what they call alliances, in an effort to bridge political divide. And I think you'll see a lot of stuff on social media about maybe people interpreting divisive messages out of the content of the album. But I personally interpret a lot of messages of unity, love, standing up together, interpreting our history, moving forward from it. So that is my one little soapbox on this casual soapbox hour. If you have access to it, you have access to the internet, you can listen to the album for free on YouTube. And if you ever want to have a coffee date talking about it, we can do that. And I'm sorry if I've misused the microphone or my podium time. Yes, Elton?
I would like to hear how Katie Clark now thinks about Ely, whether she has any regrets.
Katie Clark, is it your 1 year anniversary too? Come on up.
You know, I'm really terrible at extemporaneous speaking. And if you believe that, I have a bridge in Arizona to sell you. Oh, 1 year. My mind is blank. That's partially because I don't have a mind anymore. I was fortunate enough, well, you know, I moved to Ely, and when I moved here, I had just gotten knee surgery. And of course, we had this fabulous winter and all of the snow, and I'm really into snow sports. And I was just, oh, yeah, snow. And I had knee surgery. So I had to sit out last winter. So what happens? I moved to Ely, and this winter we have, well, other than, you know, the last week, we had no winter. And the problem with that is that I had unscheduled, unforeseen surgery this winter, and I went down to the Mayo Clinic and they took out my brain. And you know, it turns out you don't need one. I feel so much better now that I can, you know, I don't have to think anymore. No, in reality, what I had was a suboccipital decompressional craniotomy at the Mayo Clinic 6 weeks ago, which means they went underneath my brain, they went to the brain stem and they cut a nerve. And it turned out it's the, you'll like this one, the glossopharyngeal nerve. And it was giving me trouble. I just say that 3 times fast, I dare you. And it turns out, and I say, but don't I need that nerve? And the neurosurgeon looks at me and he goes, no, not really. It's just like, why do we have this? It's the nerve when you go to the dentist and get a cavity filled or you get a crown and they give you that terrible shot in the trigeminal nerve. Well, the other nerve it targets is the glossopharyngeal nerve, and it's the one that gives you feeling on the backside of your tongue. So now I have no feeling on the backside of my tongue anymore. And you know, it's actually a wonderful switch in between having pain all the time and having a little numbness. I can deal with this. It's nice to live in Minnesota where the Mayo Clinic is just, from my point of view, a short drive away. And I moved here from Idaho, and in Idaho, we didn't think anything about driving 200 miles as a day trip to go down to Salt Lake City to hit up the opera. So that's a short drive out west. And around here you go, oh, I'm going to drive down to the cities. Oh, it's such a terribly long drive. And we don't think any, I got cousins down in Minneapolis, so you know, I don't think of it a long drive. Maybe there's just something wrong with my brain. Oh, that's right, I don't have one. So I'll tell you what life in Ely, Minnesota is. It's interesting, you know, I was doing a big city beat working for Idaho's foremost business publication. And I covered the state house, and I was always going to the business conferences with the governor and all of these muckety mucks and listen, you know, corporate presidents and stuff like that, you know, interviewing the president of Micron and all of this stuff. And yeah, it was fun journalism, but living in Idaho was getting to be a bit of a pain. I was 5 feet away from when Ammon Bundy got arrested at the Idaho State House when they dragged him out of the State House and had to handcuff him to an office chair because he refused to get out of that office chair. That office chair was actually at the press table in the big conference room where the governor likes to give his big press conferences. And this guy, he was on a restraining order not to walk into the State House at all, which is why they were arresting him and dragging him off. Anyway, during that fracas, I had one of his supporters throw things. I got hit in the head with a flying object. I forget what it was. That's the first time I actually had an event where I was assaulted doing journalism. The second time I had an event being assaulted in doing journalism, believe it or not, was in Ely in September. I'm sure you folks remember, maybe you don't want to remember. There's a gentleman who has a house at 45 East Boundary Street, and he had 2 altercations, one in August and one in September, where he was having a domestic dispute with the woman he was living with, and both events led to felony charges of discharging a firearm within city limits, and maiming motor vehicles. And at the second event, when I was walking over to the house to take a picture of it while all the fire engines were there, because he set his own house on fire. His girlfriend was sitting at the end of the street, and she took offense to the fact that I was taking a picture of this house after the firemen had put the fire out. And she came up behind me, and she pushed me, but what she was really after was my camera. And she cracked the back glass plate on the camera, which the little camera shop down in Virginia fixed real quick and they didn't even charge me. They're really good camera shop. You need any photographic needs for a decent camera, go to that place. They're great. End of commercial announcement. I have no financial interest or vested interest in that business, so I need to put the disclaimer there. So yes, that's the second time I've ever been assaulted doing my job was in Ely. It makes, but we actually, Sean and I love living here. You don't see Sean. Sean's shy. I have to drag him to events. He's that kind of guy. So if you've met him, you're lucky because he likes to hide in the house. And if you meet him, say hello because he's sort of like a wallflower. He likes to hide. In case you can't tell, I'm actually an introvert, but I fake it well. But we love living here. We love the house we got up on James Street. And we're looking forward to having a winter that we can actually use because we're both deeply into snow sports. And my snowshoes are still gathering dust. And I'm very upset about this. And you're probably wondering why didn't I go out last week? I'm still on surgical restrictions from having my brain removed at the Mayo Clinic a couple of weeks ago. And with that, I think I'll shut up.